Okay, it's time to go through this song bit by bit and analyze each and every piece. Let's go. 2 minutes and 2 seconds to get through. Let's get straight into it. Poison, everybody.
And action.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, if you're new here, I stop every 2 seconds. So when I say poison, everybody, you're gonna see 2 seconds of clip and then I'll pause. But anyway, let's take a look at this scene right now. Big Bad Valentino is filling up the frame, looking very big and wide. Despite the fact that he's a skinny character, his design is quite slender. But with that royal puffy gown on, it looks like a lion's mane and it has the same effect. Because it's so puffy and it spreads out, it fills up the frame just as a lion's mane would. It makes him look a lot bigger and in turn more intimidating than he actually is. In addition to that, the hat also gives him a bit more height. It's a very tall hat, actually. So the very intelligent idea of the animators to make him look so big, despite the fact that he's one, sat down, and two, not really that big in reality, really emphasizes that moment and gives us a sense that we're looking from Angel's perspective as well. Because he himself will obviously see Valentino as this colossal, overarching, powerful being that you just can't help but notice. Okay, so Angel's expression says a lot in this moment. We can see people flocking around him, make sure he looks good for the camera, and he's just got this painful frown on his face, and he's looking down. You know, when you look down, anyone looks down. A lot of the times it's because they're either tired, upset, afraid. They don't want to look up for some certain reason. And a lot of the times, like the things that I've listed, it's a negative thing. You know, tired is obviously something that could happen, but being tired isn't really positive, is it? So pretty much every iteration of someone looking down for a reason, it'll most likely be in a negative vein. But we definitely know, and it's pretty much confirmed because the way that he was just treated, that this is definitely in fear and upset from Angel. And it full well could be a little bit of tiredness as well. Since he does this every single day without fail, he's contracted to be there each and every day, which is just exhausting. Especially with how he's being treated. He might have enjoyed it at first, but after a bit, you just get fed up with things. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's your passion or not. If you're doing it each and every day, forcefully, you're being forced to do that. You know, I like to do YouTube each and every day. I love YouTube, it's my passion. But if someone forced me to make videos, then I would be really upset and fed up by it. At a certain point, it'll get to my head, which is the difference between when Angel would have started this job, supposedly we could imagine. He would be enjoying it, because like, I've got this great deal, and he'd want to be there. But over time, as he keeps getting forced to go, and it's like, it's a chore by that point. You don't want to do chores, you're forced to do things. Just like, if school was voluntary, everyone who'd be going to school would want to be there. That's why university is a much happier environment, standalone, aside from all of the taxes and everything outside of that. University as a whole, people there will be a lot happier, seeing as they would have picked to be there. They want to do that subject, so they've chosen to do that, and they can leave at any point. That's the good thing about things like university, or doing something as a passion. Things that, yes, could be a job, but they're also a passion, are a lot more enjoyable, especially when you're doing it voluntarily, than doing something that you don't want to do. And like I said, even if it is a passion, if someone forces you to do it each and every day, eventually, you'll get fed up of that no matter what it is. You can also look at his body language as well, aside from his face and stuff. He looks quite slouched and fed up. You know, he's not really relaxed his shoulders. He's more fed up of the weight. I think that's the best way to put it. There's so much weight on his shoulders, so much stress. He constantly has to worry about being great for the camera, entertaining. He also worries about what will happen if he doesn't do that, what are the consequences to even standing up in any way, shape, or form against his master. There's also the added stress, which isn't meant to be stressful, but it comes from the hotel as well. There's that push to be redeemable, you know, to redeem yourself, and if he's not doing that, that brings some stress as well. It's a positive thing, the hotel, yes, to redeem yourself. But when there's an individual so broken, who's forced to do sinful acts each and every day, it'll get to the head like, I need to be redeeming myself, but I'm not redeeming myself. So there's a lot of stress on him right now, and it's very unfortunate to see. But I can also applaud, obviously, the animation team for actually adding this, and, you know, without this, I wouldn't be here talking about his mannerisms, because if those little details weren't added, I'd have nothing to talk about. So huge props to the animation team for giving us this extra characteristics of Angel to kind of digest and dig through. And then a smile just washes across his face, just super quick. He puts that mask back on, but you can see this in combination to a second ago, it's definitely fake. It is a facade, 100%, but it's always great to point out that people like Angel, even in real life, are great at putting on a fake personality. As much as they may think they feel like crap and all these different things, one thing that they're always really good at, a lot of these people, and when I say a lot of these people, I mean literally everyone. Everyone puts a mask on in a way, shape, or form. I myself put a mask on sometimes, you do, but these people who have to live by that mask each and every day and they're codependent with it, or rather they're dependent on it, they've mastered that art in making everyone else think that everything's okay. And it's just really unfortunate to see that one of those things that Angel is really good at, that he puts into practice each and every day. Obviously, he might be good at some other things, but out of those things that he's really great at, that he does each and every day, so that's kind of a different category, that it would be this and used for this purpose. It's just quite unfortunate to see.
I'm not a bubble of the cash in. Another lover underneath those.
So now he's getting into that character of Angel Dust. Previously, he was Anthony in that room with Val, all those few seconds leading up to the song, but now he's Angel Dust, a different person, completely separate from Anthony. They are not the same. Anthony, really, despite being the real version of Angel Dust, what's behind that mask? He is just the bearer of weakness. Since all those other things have been transferred to the Angel Dust persona, that all that's left of the foundations that Angel was created from is just all those weak things that he's repressed. So now, Anthony himself is pretty much just a nothing burger, you know, that there isn't anything to him because it's all been taken and transferred and twisted into this Angel Dust personality, so much so that Anthony only comes out in those weak moments and Angel's there all the time, and now basically Angel's taken over. Angel's there 24/7.
Flashing lights. Another one of those.
Look at how his face changes when he sees those shadows creeping up on him. He knows what's about to come, the pain he's going to experience, but he just disassociates. He says that later on. He completely disconnects from reality and tries to forget it all and just pushes it away or pushes it down. Wherever he wants to push it, as long as it's not in his main conscious mind, he wants it gone. But then, a lot of the time, the places that he pushes it to will eventually be so full with things that it will just pour out, and all those things that he's repressed will come out through a grand moment, whether it's the death of a friend or a mortal wound, something like that, where you're so weak that you can no longer put that mask back on, and all those things that you've repressed, all those memories will all come back to haunt you because you've not learned to accept them. And obviously, I can't speak on some of the certain things that Angel's been through because I haven't been through it myself, nor am I educated enough to make a point or a stance on how to deal with those emotions and those thoughts. But I will say that one of the universal steps to improvement is to just understand that those things happened, and though it's going to be painful, you're going to have to accept it at some point, no matter what. I don't know how exactly you get to doing that, and it's especially hard since he's still experiencing it each and every day, but at some point there will be a moment where he's just like, hey, I can't change the past. What I can do is I can move on and be a better person and not let those things affect me. Those things did happen to me, but I can try and move on despite the PTSD that will still probably sit with him for the rest of his eternal life, or until he rises to heaven, which I'm pretty sure will like purify him maybe, but I don't know how all that works in the law. But bringing it to a more real perspective, the main point is just acceptance a lot of the time. It's just a step. The main point is just acceptance a lot of the time. You know, you have to at some point kind of take that first step, and like I said, acceptance is the first step. How you go about getting that acceptance is completely arbitrary to me. I don't really know how to go about that.
Those ruthless nights. Yeah.
Look at his face. I'm gonna have to get kind of, you know, retention. There we go. Just had to go back there because, you know, I don't want you guys to get bored. But look at how he puts his arms up, and it's kind of like claws. He's doing it in a very defensive stance, but he knows that he's no match for these people because they're just so strong and they have such a stance over him. And if he tries to fight back, then the forces that be behind the camera will have to step in and pry Angel away and force it to happen. Which I know is a bold statement to say, but Val said it himself that he will do things by force for people to obviously do what he wants. One thing that's great about the Hazbin Hotel characters and the way that they're written, I think one of the voice actors actually mentioned this on a panel once, is that they feel so human, so they resonate so deeply with people. These characters have been written because they are humans, as if they were human, because they are humans, obviously. And that just brings that next level of relatability. Despite them being demons in hell, they're still humans at the core because they were humans and they still have the mind and consciousness of a basic human. They can still learn, they can still feel emotions, they can be hurt despite the way that their world works where they do respawn at some point. They can still have those mortal wounds, whether it's physical from an angelic weapon that just doesn't go away, or whether it's mental with the things that did happen. Despite the fact that your body's fixed from it, your mind will never truly be. And that's something that a lot of people can relate to, so that's a great thing about this show.
Yeah. I should have guessed that this would happen.
Notice how when he was spinning around on that pole, he kind of had a moment where there was a frown on his face for some reason. It's because he saw Val. And then when Val reached that hand out, he smiles. And I think this is kind of a portrayal, a recreation of how they actually met. Angel was possibly in a rut and he perceived that he couldn't get out. And then Val reaches his arm out to him and says, listen, I'll take you aboard. I'll make you all this money. I'll make you famous. And then that's a genuine smile from Angel. Obviously, he's acting. This smile's an acting smile. But I think the actual scenario went down just like that. I think when Angel Angel was acting then, that frown was slightly real, but it was also an act. He was frowning around that pole back all those years ago when Val found him and preyed upon him, really. He was spinning around and he just felt like everything was going to crap, and then Val reached out his arm, and that smile, that genuine smile at the time, it would have been quite genuine because it seemed like such an amazing opportunity, but nowadays we can see that Angel is not very happy. But right now it's a two deal. I don't know how that makes sense, but in those few seconds that I just showed you with that frown around the pole and this smile, now that's acting. But then this now,
I should've known it when I looked in your eyes.
that there is slight acting and then a bit of realism, because sometimes you can genuinely fall for the people who treat you badly. But right now I do think that it is mostly an act.
Hard eyes, spewing all your red.
That there, when he looks at Val as the director, he makes that fourth wall break. That is a genuine frown. So he was acting from the pole to here, but then that's when the mask drops for a second and he does genuinely frown because he doesn't want to act like this. So in that scene alone, there was a mix of acting and non-acting. So it's great to digest that, because sometimes you could think that it was all an act or it was all real. I doubt that a lot of this was genuine, but when he actually looks at Val and breaks that fourth wall past the camera, we know then that that's 100% how it goes down. That is definitely a genuine emotion. He doesn't want to do this. He's fed up of this. He doesn't want to relive the moment that he met Val, because despite the fact that if you look back on good memories you might feel better, sometimes the thought of those memories and experiences are what led you up to this crappy moment. That can get to your head, well, I don't want to look back at those memories because the decisions that I made in those happy memories led me to this depressive episode. So that kind of ruins those memories a little bit. So though he was genuinely happy at that strip club when Val found him, now recreating it years later because he knew what it led to, he can't look back at it happily because it was overall a bad decision, and that's something that's very important to know. And can you just imagine having a camera in your face at all times? You're forced to not only come and do something, you know, you're supposed to act and do all these things, but also the fact that everything that you do will be recorded and broadcast to everyone. There's a slight difference. I don't want to compare these two things, but let's say, for example, you go and you're being forced to, contracted to do something. You don't want to do it, but once you do it, it's over and done with. Let's say you're being forced into labor for something. Now, this is a very strange topic to talk about, and I'm not trying to degrade or downplay any of these experiences, but I'm just trying to make you see the difference. Let's say you're forced into doing manual labor for X hours a day, or this thing happens, you know, your boss will do this, and you know, there's blackmail going on there. You're forced to do this labor. Once you've done that labor, it is done. You're forced to do that labor, but once that labor's finished, it is finished. With Angel, once that act is finished, not only does he have to do it again tomorrow, just like the manual labor, you'd have to do it again tomorrow, but there's also the fact that it's been recorded and broadcast to everyone. That's the difference. There's no guarantee that those bricks that person laid on that day will stay there forever, but there is a guarantee that everything that Angel films will be circulated around for as long as time is alive. So though I'm not going to compare those two experiences, I'm just trying to make you see the difference between why it might be a lot more emphasized in this moment, why the cameras are shown so much, because the cameras are actually a big factor. This is a terrible situation for Angel.
Hard lies,
See that then, where he put that smile back on, the mask was there again. He's great at switching between the two, but sometimes it slips. No matter how great you are at putting on a mask and taking it off and putting it on, there's always those moments where no matter what, for the third time, it's going to slip at some point. 100%. You can't stop that. Aside from how well you do at performing that, it's still eventually going to happen.
What's the worst part of this hell? I can only blame myself.
Now, we look into the lyrics and what he's saying. In this moment, he's saying, I can only blame myself. Now, this is the great step towards, by great, I mean big, great step towards the specific view that he has of himself. So a few seconds earlier from this, he's saying that I should have guessed that this would happen. I should have known it when I looked in your red hot eyes, spewing all your red hot lies. He's blaming himself this entire time. He literally just said, I can only blame myself. Everything that he does in this song, everything that he's saying, all of his body language, his acting, he's blaming himself for each and everything that he does. And yes, you could argue you can only blame yourself for your own actions. Sure, the way that you execute things can only be done by you. Theoretically, yes, that is how motor functions work. Your brain controls your body, but sometimes you can be forced to act a certain way through manipulation, brainwashing, all those different things. It may not be that serious in this case. Angel's not fully gone. He knows what he's doing is bad for him, but he just can't stop. That's the thing, so he's forced to do it. He's not being brainwashed into thinking it's great. Val's not in his mind saying this and that. He might give him those thoughts sometimes times, like when he comes out of the phone in episode 2, I'm pretty sure. But other than that, he's not actually brainwashed him. He's just forcing him to put on a mask. That is a different kind of scenario. Since he's not actually in his head, forcing him, you know, making him seem like everything's okay. Angel's self-aware, but he just can't escape, so he has to keep doing it. That's the difference. But he still blames himself no matter what. He's like, I choose to put this mask on, I choose to do this and that. But at the end of the day, if you don't, there's so much more consequences. You know what happens. We've seen what happens as the audience when Angel, quote-unquote, disobeys, even though he didn't in that moment that we saw. His choices are show up every single day and perform the best that you can, in quotes, and keep indulging in self-destruction. Or, the other option, you choose not to do anything and you just get slapped around like a freaking punching bag. But with that first option, no matter how hard you try, and obviously this isn't mentioned in the terms, despite that, if an outwardly force chooses to interfere, such as Charlie when she sets fire to things, and I get angry, I'm still gonna take it out on you and treat you like that punching bag anyway.
'Cause I know you're poison, you're feeding me poison.
So what Angel's saying is that he knows that this is destroying him, and you're feeding me this, and I know that you're doing this, and it's my fault that I'm indulging in this, even though, like I've said, he's being forced. It is not his fault, but he won't believe that. He'll never really believe that truly until he's fully out of it. And even then, it can take a while to come to terms with the fact that, hey, you weren't in the wrong a lot of the time. You might have done something, because no one's fully perfect. You know, people have done things, and he might have done some things at certain points, but overall, Val is completely in the wrong a lot of the time. You know, near enough everything that he does towards Angel has malicious intent behind it.
Addicted to this feeling, I can't help but swallow up your
Look at the camera framing, okay. Valentino is enormous, and he has got that chain on Angel, and Angel's acting like he enjoys it because he thinks, I'm doing this, I'm choosing to do this, so I might as well be happy with it. I might not enjoy it truly, but I'm just gonna pretend that I'm enjoying it since I got myself into this situation. It's my fault. That's the gist of what he's practically saying. But look at the way the camera frames Val. Literally, he is enormous. He's so much bigger than Angel, and Angel's on the floor, and that's a great thing that they've done in the animation to make him look so much smaller. Every scene with Angel and Val in, from the start of the series up to this point and beyond to the end of this song, shows Val as the dominator. He's always above Angel. Until episode 6, when finally they're at level with each other. When Angel fights back and says, you can't harm my friends, I'm not going to let you. And then you see in that moment, with that scene, they're actually on level. And that's a great step that happens later on, but right now we can see what the dynamic's like. And that's why camera direction is so incredibly important, because it can tell us, not only visually, but also through silhouettes of characters where you actually can't see their facial expressions, what the dynamic is.
poison. I made my choices. Every night I'm living like there's no tomorrow.
Okay, I'm gonna just scroll back here because I actually don't want to show any of this as a freeze frame. But basically, Angel's saying that he made this choice. It was his choice. Like I said, he thinks that it's his fault. And every night, he's living like there's just no tomorrow. Like, nothing matters. He's gonna keep destroying himself and indulging because he'll eventually die. Let's be honest, it doesn't matter because everything is just gonna come to an end anyway. And that's a very nihilistic view for someone who lives eternally. And we can see with that clip that I just showed you, he indulges in a lot. It's not just sex, it's not just drugs, it's also a very important one, and that is fake relationships. People who only like you because of your profession and the character that you put on. Whereas in the hotel, everyone there wants to see Anthony, the true Angel Dust Anthony behind that mask. But because he's always got the Angel Dust persona on, they argue with him, they bicker, people like Alistair giving snide remarks, Vaggie having to tell him how it is, and Husk also telling him how it is. And it's only because, like we see, when Angel opens up later on to Husk, he acts completely different around him. And like I'm saying, that's quite frankly because they know that this mask is not real. It's just that, a mask. They want to see what's under that. They want the true raw emotions. So not only can I insinuate that point, but there's actual evidence behind it because we see how Husk treats Angel, or Anthony really, later on in this episode. We see some flashes of a clip there with Val and Angel, which is honestly quite disgusting, especially what we see afterwards. It makes me kind of, especially knowing how Angel is and how he truly feels about Val, kind of see those moments that are censored, sure. Still, when you see those things happening, you can't help but know, and then connotate that with what's happening on screen and realize that Angel doesn't really want to do what he's doing with Val, which is something that I really don't want to tap into because I'm not educated enough on the subject. We're just going to ignore that for now. I feel like I've said before, there's a lot of videos online that people who are genuine therapists or survivors of that type of abuse can comment on that a lot more in depth than I can, and with a more level head.
Any way you want me, baby, that's the way you got me. I'll be yours.
Yeah, we see it, yes, of course, but he's saying that any way you want me, baby, that's the way you got me. And that's basically saying, quite bluntly, actually, that he's so far into this profession and into this character that he's given up on taking care of himself, and he, as Angel Dust, the character, the body that comes with it, is just a product to be used, and it's just meant to be sold, and all those things. He doesn't care anymore. You can do whatever you want to Angel, because Angel never gets broken. Angel Dust is this flamboyant character with no worries at all. He doesn't take any criticism to heart, and it doesn't matter, because Angel is just so strong and takes all of this crap, not only with his job in that sexual sense, but also the physical kind of abuse sense, which is something that also I don't want to tap into. But like I've said this entire time, he's still blaming himself, you know? There's no stopping to that. He doesn't cease that mindset throughout the whole thing. Everything that he's talking about, he thinks that he's to blame for, which as much as we can tell him, that's not true. At the end of the day, you can't really tell him that. No conceivable words could possibly attempt to change his mindset purely on their own. It's words that are said that allow him to think, and then through thinking and understanding himself through himself, he understands. You can't just tell him, hey, he's abusive, blah, 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 because he won't listen, because he's like, no, I'm Angel. He puts that mask on. If you tell him, hey, you need to consider this, really sit down with me, let's just think. And it's through those words that are said that allow him to do an action, and it's through that action and those thoughts, that cognitive ability, that he then has that conclusion. So yes, words can help, but words aren't the be-all end-all. They are the first step.
My story's gonna end with me dead.
Now, okay, I know we see Val here and he's very big, but just the shadow of him rising is very well done. We can see that when he's having that moment of ecstasy, just going through the sexual act, he's smiling with that mask on, but as soon as that guy pulls away and he's left defenseless, you know, there's no blockade in front of him to kind of block Val in a way. I know it's a very odd way to interpret it, but I do see it this way, that when he's having that experience with another person, whether it's an actor or whatever, he feels more protective and safe because he's in the hands of someone who doesn't care about him, no, but at least it's not Val. You know, anyone is better than Val. So Val's behind the camera directing, but Angel is there, and if he's with another person, he kind of feels like he's so in that moment, and he has to focus so much on the act that's happening that he can't even think about Val. But as soon as that person pulls away, and there's nothing left for him to get lost in anymore, he can only think about Val as he begins to approach, and that shadow rises up, and then this, more camera framing, he is enormous, especially the shadow that shows up. The shadow of Val is enormous, camera framing, and then, obviously, right here. Also tying to what I said about him being very slender, he has his arms out. So despite the fact that he is quite skinny, his arms out, he still fills the frame. And also, like I've said, his head is only really that smile and those eyes. But look at the silhouette of him. He looks like Ozzy, you know, from Hell of a Boss. He looks like a mythical creature, so intimidating. 3 heads like Cerberus or Ozzy, you know? Something that's so much bigger than he actually is in reality. So that one still image is the one thing that makes me think, truly makes me think that, hey, that gown, that puffy gown, was an artistic choice to make him look bigger.
I got so good at being untrue.
Here it is. This is a moment where I get quite uncomfortable, so keep myself composed and just kind of get through it. So he's saying that he gets so good at being untrue. You know, he can lie, be a fake persona, and that's basically what he's saying. He's great at acting now. He's got so good at acting and pretending everything's okay so he can keep doing Val's bidding. He's like, I'm fine, you know, it's just another, like he says after this, you know, it's been a long shoot, nothing big, just get me a drink to forget, obviously. So he can put that mask on so easily. That's what he's saying. He's kind of gloating the fact that, hey, I mean, I've just got, well, not really. He's fed up doing it, but in a way, he's gloating, saying, I got so good at doing this now. He's not exactly showing off, but he's just making that point known.
I got so good at telling you what you wanna hear.
Look at that. Look at the way that he just grabs his chin and then just very literally blows him away and just clogs up his senses so he can just get out of there. You know, he's got no regard for Angel's life, yet he still pursues him and chases him, not only because of the contract, but also like that toxic thought of, do I still love Val? You know, there might be that moment where that contract has been diminished between him and Val, but then he still feels like he wants to go back because he's so conditioned to do Val's bidding that even without the contract, without the admission to be there, where he kind of still feels like attracted to Val. He might not go back to him, but he still can't help but feel a bit of love in there, you know, very toxic love for those good times. And that's the thing, shower you with affection and things like that at the beginning, or maybe even sometimes in between, to make you feel like, hey, they're being nice today, so maybe this is going to continue. And then obviously something bad happens because that person wants to get their way, or they're mad and they need to take it out on someone, but then they're nice to you the next day. So hey, I know I had a bad night last night with you, but hey, you're being nice to me, so I know maybe there's a bit of hope here. And you just keep getting caught up in that. And Angel also made that really good point as well, that he got so good at telling him what he wants to hear. Whatever Val wants, I'll do it. And it's the same thing to when he says, any way you want me, that's the way you got me, I'll be yours. He's reiterating the fact that he can just breathe through this and do whatever Val says just to get through the day and just speed run his way to the end.
I disassociate, disappear.
And that's another great thing that ties in there. He disassociates. He completely disconnects. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know what disassociation means, or dissociation, it's basically when you can just kind of get through things. Try and search it up. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very particular feeling where you can zone out. It's basically just zoning out, really. And that's what he's saying. Angel's saying he can just completely disconnect and not be interested in engaging in that. And then his mask will just do everything else for him. In fact, disassociation is actually a survival or trauma response. It comes from a traumatic experience, which can lead to things such as DPDR, which is something that I've actually experienced personally, so I can attest to this. And it's also a survival strategy to kind of limit the pain of an experience. So the fact that he's going kind of primal mode to get through these porn shoots, that doesn't really seem like it goes together. But really, he's not getting through these porn shoots, he's getting through the abuse. That's really what he's doing.
So far beyond difficult to resist another gulp.
So he's saying that he can't help but keep coming back. Not just because of the contract, but also maybe because it can give him a twisted sense of comfort, or it seems like an escape to him, which is the more likely answer. But it's still very important to say that sometimes those environments where you can just disconnect can also seem quite comforting. It's like I just go in there and just all those negative thoughts in my head, but I'm just going to go to work and disassociate, and then that'll be my comfort, you know, go into comfort mode, because that's what disassociation is. It's a response that your body does to make you feel comfort in a very traumatic or survival scenario. So really, everything there aligns, which is something that's really great.
Yeah, I know it's poison, you're feeding me poison.
Now, we see some things in the background here that I don't really want to elaborate on, but basically, it's just a bunch of really horrible treatment. Obviously, there was that scene before that I'm going to blur no matter what YouTube says. I'm still going to not show it, since it's just honestly disgusting. And that is honestly a great thing, actually, because it shows to the animators and writers that they did a great job. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they showed so much graphic nonsense, let's say. I'm actually saying that it gives the ideal effect that it wants to give, so that's a great thing. But obviously, I can't ignore that it's a bad thing anyway. You know, aside from that, it's great from that perspective, but the actual visuals and what's happening in the show, I don't really want to show. But anyway, Angel's doing it again, you know, blaming himself. It could be just the song and the chorus, that's very much what it is, but the reason behind it is still there, you know? He might be repeating it because it's a chorus, you know, chorus has to be repeated because it's the main, it's a chorus is a thing that is repeated in a song. Yet still, the symbolisms behind the chorus don't go away the second time that it's repeated. It's still there. And it's unavoidable, you know, you have to kind of acknowledge the reasons behind it each and every time that it shows up.
Looking from the taste and I can't help but swallow up your poison.
Now, one thing that Angel does and is doing right now to kind of cope with that stuff is make himself seem very sexy. And that's the best way to say it, really. That's the very blunt way of saying it. He gives this idea to himself that he's this great model and he's got no problems. That's what the personality of Angel does, the character is. So a better way to put it is that Anthony does it this way. Anthony behind that mask puts on that mask, and through making himself feel this way and dressing this way and just kind of instilling this thought in his mind that he is this and he will always be this, is honestly a heartbreaking but very well done coping mechanism. It's actually a known fact that feeling that way, having those emotions and feeling that about yourself, self-confidence, all those things, even though Angel's broken inside, they are overall a positive thing. But it's just the way that you're coming at it, you know? Are you trying to make yourself feel this way because you want to and you just want to feel amazing because you are? Or are you trying to make yourself feel this way because you want to escape from something else? That's the difference. Angel's trying to escape here, but if someone else was doing this, had a great way with coping with the problems, you know, if they have a thought, they can sit there and analyze it and just pick out the parts and say, why is this thought affecting me? And just sit with that and understand it. If they were to do this, they would know that they have problems, but they can also still feel this way in a healthy manner. But this is an unhealthy way to go about a healthy thing.
I made my choice and every night I'm wasted like there's no tomorrow.
Notice how he changes in the chorus from the first time where he says, I'm living like there's no tomorrow, and now he's wasted like there's no tomorrow. He's smiling and happy about it, but the symbolism behind that is he's broken, and he's making himself feel this way. That is the factual manner in which he's doing this. And there's also clips coming in and out, you know, of him being treated badly, and Val, honestly, if you know what I mean, when it shows that little clip of Val with his tongue out, that is, honestly, I was going to put that in the thumbnail, because it is such an incredible portrayal of how Val is. Parasitical. Sticks to you and feeds off of you, you know? That's what Val is at the core of its being. And I say it's. Why? Because parasites are things. They are no longer animals or humans. Parasites are these horrible things that we don't give any identification to. They are just things, and that's what Val is. He's just a thing that sticks to everyone else. He has no individuality, because everything that he is built off the people that he exploits and leeches off of. So those short few frames with Val looking all slimy, saliva dripping from his tongue, it really characterizes him in the best way possible, so great stuff. See how when he was singing that note, it showed him in pain. That's insinuating how he truly feels. Right now in this moment, he's singing with a smile. That clip that punches in is how he truly feels and what it's really like. This is an act right now. What's behind it is that clip, and that's what's great about the visuals of this song, you know? They bring in clips that may just seem like, oh, it's painful for him at first glance, but it actually completely ties in with what he's doing, because it shows that in this act, he looks happy, but behind the scenes, this is what it's truly like. It's not just showing him in pain, it's showing him in pain as a comparison to how he's acting right in this moment. There's another thing, he makes those poses with a smile on his face, but then on the screen it flashes showing how it truly is to be in those positions, figuratively and literally. He is in that position as a person, but he's also physically in those positions when he's being treated terribly and abused. Look at that. Val has got that twisted smile frown thing going on his face. An angel is being pulled away. Notice when he views Val, he can see him behind the camera approaching. And once again, I'm pretty sure an exact minute after that first moment, that shadow's cast over once again, and he drops that smile, that mask slips, and it's a frown, and he's dragged away by this parasitical, with saliva dripping down him once again, and then this cut-in version of Angel has to finish the song for us because the real Angel has been dragged away. So obviously they had to do a retake of that to kind of make the end nicely, because it's great and stuff. So it just shows that no matter what, every time that we see Angel, it always ends badly. The first time in the song where he's on that bed and he sees Val, that's Angel and he's being taken away. And then once again here, we see Angel, then he's taken away. And that Angel on the screen right there will most likely, when this clip ends, be taken away. Every single time he's dragged and treated horribly. Unfortunate and just really heartbreaking moment. He blames himself once again. He says, I'm drowning in poison. And he just completely rips the chorus and turns it into his true feelings. When he was singing it before with that mask on as Angel, he was buttering it up and making it seem more extravagant. He was still speaking his truth, but through that mask. But now that mask has dropped and everything that's coming out, not only is his exact words and how he feels, but it is through the person who's actually trying to communicate through Angel this whole time. Just to hear that he's drowning in it, as if it's that serious. Just that word drowning is enough, isn't it? It's so horrible because drowning is a terrible thing and it's fatal, and it's saying, yes, I'm drowning in this poison. Not only is it poison, but I'm drowning in it. There's so much of it, yet I still can't get enough, and I'm not dead yet. I'm still being destroyed and used each and every day, and I'm not getting any uglier. The only thing that's being affected and being made uglier by these experiences is what's on the inside. Everything on the outside is just the same. It's kept in the same condition, and like he says later on, he just wants to ruin himself so much that Val doesn't want him anymore. But he notices that no matter how much poison he's taking, he's still Angel Dust, the porn star that everyone's attracted to, that he thinks everyone is attracted to. He says that he's sick of the poison, he's filling up his glass but it's always hollow, there's nothing in it, which references the glass half full, half empty philosophy, where he says when he fills his up, there's literally nothing in there. He can't compare, he can't say whether it's full or empty, he's just saying there's nothing there, it's fully empty, there's nothing there to actually base it off of.
I'm sick of the poison, wish I had something to live for tomorrow.
Wish I had something to live for tomorrow. And not only that, but the way that Blake performs it. He breaks in his voice and it cracks. And not only is it conveyed that his voice is cracking, but also the mask as well. It's shattering once again. He feels like there's nothing for him to do. Like he said previously in the song, he's living like there's no tomorrow. He's wasted like there's no tomorrow. And now he's saying, I don't have anything to live for anyway. You know, if tomorrow comes, I've got nothing to live for. So I'm going to keep destroying myself. So it all comes full circle. It's that triad there. He's living, he's wasted, but there's nothing there anyway to actually affect, you know? There's nothing to break anymore. He's just a mindless husk, in a way, a vessel to be used. No more value. Well, I hope you enjoyed what you could about this video. I'll bring it to a more positive end and just say, hey, I hope you learned something. And you know what? If you want another song analysis, how about Loser Baby? That one's so much better since it just rounds out everything that happens after this song and leaves on a positive note. So if you want to see more positivity and less of this negative view, then go and see Loser Baby. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Stay positive. Please do. Don't get caught in negativity. Come on. Goodbye.